TGR. Hey, what's up guys? As you guys know, late last week, the Switch OLED was released alongside with Metroid Dread, and there are a lot of opinions that are already out there on the internet, so we figured we could go ahead and throw in our hat into the ring and talk a little bit about it. As you know, my name is Rudy, and we have the beautiful, amazing...
your boy Onyx, pam, pam, pam. We're going to be talking about some OLED, man.
I know, dude. So, like... I recently just got an LG G1, and that was probably the biggest visual upgrade that I've had in a very, very long time when it came to gaming in my living room. So when the Nintendo Switch OLED was announced, I immediately was like, that's going to look sexy. I knew that seeing it with my naked eye, like I was like, oh, this is going to be good, especially after my experience with the LG G1. So let's go ahead and talk about the OLED screen right off the bat. Dude, what are your impressions? What do you think about it? What was the biggest thing that stood out to you with it?
So, first impressions, and we all know this, if you do some research, you know that OLED is very impressive with blacks. So the first impression that I got was, wow, these blacks look black. They don't look gray. As soon as I booted up Metroid Dread, you get hit with that logo with a really dark background, right? And that was honestly, I mean, we've heard it ad nauseum, right? Metroid Dread was the perfect title to launch with the OLED, and that's for a reason. The blacks and contrast in that game are perfect to showcase what an OLED screen can do. So right off the bat, very impressive. I've not really seen too many native OLEDs like at the stores or anything like that. I've not really experienced it firsthand. So this, I would say, is my genuine first major OLED impression, because even my phone, I have an AM OLED screen, which is great. It's a Samsung S21, so it looks fantastic, but I guess I never really paid attention. It just seemed more vibrant with the Switch, and it's probably because it's a 7-inch screen. So I very impressive, to say the least.
I agree. For me, going into it, I knew that I was going to get those deep blacks. I knew that we were going to see a lot more vibrant colors, even with the two options that are available. Even the standard looks good, but I left it on Vivid, kept it going as is, and yes, Dread was definitely the best game to launch with, but even going back to previous titles and playing something like Mario Odyssey, which I was playing earlier today with my son, playing some other games like Bayo, Monster Hunter Rise, things like that that just are much more vibrant, have a lot of things happening on screen, it elevates the experience that much more. And like you said, that 7-inch screen, dude, the impression that gives as you're holding it in your hands, it's hard to explain in video, and it's hard to show in video. It's really something that you have to experience for yourself in your hands with your naked eye, because it's nuts. I can show you a bunch of pictures, but at the end of the day, seeing that with your eyes is really, really what blew me away, man.
No, absolutely agreed. And I wanted to ask, so does the console, is the Vivid the standard mode? Like, does it come default with Vivid on?
Yes, 100%.
So
it comes with Vivid, and you can change it to standard.
Right.
But at the end of the day, there isn't really that big of a difference, at least in my opinion. I know that when with the LG G1, you can kind of like change all sorts of like
you can do a lot
settings.
more with televisions, right?
Yeah,
way more. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely much more simplified, I guess would be the best way of saying it, on the OLED. But it's still one of those things where most first-party Nintendo games are very, very colorful. They're very vibrant, and they're out there. So having this screen just complements it very, very well, at least in my opinion. In regards to the sturdiness of the console itself, I myself, with my OG Switch, I had issues with the rails. Every once in a while, my Joy-Cons wouldn't even register. There was always issues trying to kind of like game or log into the game or the console to go ahead and start gaming, and it would just not work. I would have to take out my Joy-Con, click it back in order for it to actually register and connect. How do you feel about these new Joy-Con rails? Do they feel sturdier to you?
100% they do. And, you know, the console overall, like holding the console, definitely I feel like it's a sturdier console. And you know, there's the whole, if you have something that weighs a decent amount, right, it feels like it's sturdy, like it can take a hit. And that may be playing an effect in my mind, but I don't know, like it just feels good. Taking the Joy-Cons out is it feels more, like you said, rigid, like it can hold better. My original Switch, unfortunately, had a broken button to release the Joy-Cons because when I first got my Switch, one of my kid's friends played with it and they broke it. Very easily though. That's the thing. He didn't do much. He was just trying to like take it out and it just kind of came off. These buttons feel a lot harder to push down, right? Which to me means that it's going to take a little bit more effort to take it out. Like it may not break as easy as the OG Switch because once that thing broke, dude, if you grabbed it up with that side, it would just slide right out. I didn't even have to put pressure on that button. So it definitely feels better. Even the Joy-Cons, to an extent, something about them feels slightly more premium. I don't know if it's the material on the actual shell or what, but something feels just slightly more premium. It could also be placebo effect for all we know. But regardless, it feels good. Definitely an improvement over the Switch, over the original Switch.
Oh, I 100% agree with you, man. Like, it feels good. I bought my wife the Animal Crossing, the ACNH Special Edition, and that was essentially a Switch version 2, the one that came with the improved battery life and everything else that came with that. It felt sturdier as well. The Joy-Cons definitely felt a little sturdier, but again, it could be a placebo effect. It could just be that it's a new Switch. It could just be new.
You're right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a new Switch, and that's the thing. Like, if you have an OG Switch and you compare that after all that wear and tear over the years to this, of course, it's going to feel sturdier. It's going to feel nicer. Honestly, as of right now, it feels good. But will it?
Let's see in 4 years.
Pass the test of time? Yeah, exactly. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's see what's going to happen. I will say that in regards to the physical features, and at least in my opinion, one of the downgrades is the cartridge slot. It feels. Yeah, it feels weird because for me, when I was playing on my OG Switch or even the Animal Crossing Special Edition, I could just pop it out, take out the cartridge, no issues. Now it almost feels, it's sturdy. Like, it feels sturdier in the sense that it's locked. It takes a lot more pressure, at least in my opinion, to actually open the flap and actually take out the cartridge. But at the same time, it feels thinner, if that makes sense. It feels like it could break a little bit easier. And I don't know if that's just because of the way that the outside of it is coated. I mean, that just could be me, but I definitely feel like the original version of that just feels nicer and sturdier and safer. How about you?
Honestly, first impressions, I actually liked it more because the first one, like, you can, so you can look at the mechanism on this one, right? It's almost like a little latch that you can kind of extend, right? Like if you extend it all the way out, it's like a little rubber at the bottom, right? And it kind of has a little bit of a give. It kind of slides in and out just a tiny little bit. The original one on the Switch, like, had more of a give. You could actually extend it a little bit more. That particular part I did like more, but however, when you just kind of open it and just leave it there, just give it a little bit of giveaway, it's actually really easy to take out the cartridge, which I just ruined my Bayonetta playthrough. but I the only thing that I will say feels like a negative with the cartridge slot is that it does have it takes a little smidge more effort to kind of open it up. So that like you said, it may potentially lead to it being broken because the top material does feel a little bit thinner. But it also might be a better plastic, right? It might be a better hard plastic for it. So that will 100% be let's see how the wear and tear, how that goes against with wear and tear. But overall, I wouldn't say it's a negative. I also wouldn't consider it like a major plus either. It is definitely more sturdier and safer, I think. It'll probably keep your cartridges in there if it were to, like, say, you drop your Switch. It may keep it in there better than the old ones. But I also never had that issue with the old one, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I didn't have any issues with that with my old one anyways, but it's still something that, I immediately, like, I picked it up and I was like, huh, this is different. This feels different. And it could be just me not being 100% used to it yet and just used to my previous Switch and how that worked and the ease of use when it came to that. But that's just my opinion. When it comes to other physical features on the OLED Switch, I can probably say that most of us agree that the biggest improvement is the kickstand. The kickstand, like, night and day difference. I know not everybody has a Surface Pro, but I have one, and it reminds me so much of the hinge design on the Surface Pro. The hinge design for the kickstand on the Switch OLED just feels more secure. It's sturdier. It feels like genuinely you can sit there and play with it on your lap and it'll still hold strong. It isn't this flimsy piece of plastic that's barely an inch wide that'll go ahead and hold up the entire Switch. It's just an improvement overall. I've played with it with my son. Again, we're sitting there playing Mario Odyssey, handheld mode or tabletop mode, if you were to call it that. And it was just an awesome experience overall.
I mean, agreed. This is like the easiest thing to talk about. It's just better. It just works. This is how it should have been from the get-go. I'm not sure who at Nintendo thought that original kickstand was going to do the job. This is how it should have been. 100%. It baffles me that they didn't think about this design. And this isn't a fucking premium design. It's still like a metallic plastic. I don't even know what material this exactly is. If it's plastic, it feels like really fucking premium plastic, but I think it's metal. I don't know. It's a weird feeling. The back of the Switch in general actually has a little bit of a weird grainy feeling, but absolutely kickstand. Yeah, easy peasy upgrade. Definitely worth it.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you saw Wolfden's video, but he went ahead and like ruined the mesh that's on the bottom that covers the speakers.
I did.
Oh my god, dude! I saw that. I was like, no.
I was like being extra careful with mine. I'm like, okay, I definitely don't want to do that. Where can I grab? Where can I stick my finger in here and not break it? but yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Did you play, I mean, what did you think of the audio improvements? Did you think that those speakers that they talked about, enhanced audio, was actually a thing, that it made a big difference, or was it even noticeable for you?
Nice little segue. Speaking about audio, yeah, so it's definitely louder. I can definitely tell you that. I like put 2 YouTube videos on mine, and on my OG Switch and the OLED, and yeah, 100%, it is definitely louder. It is not a like major difference. It's not like when you go from a phone, like for example, my old LG phone, I think it was the G5, maybe the G8. No, it was a G5. It had a built-in chamber on the speaker, so it wasn't just a little grill. It literally, like, it had 3 holes, and they went up on the side of the phone. That shit was loud. That was like a wow, major improvement over the previous device that I had. In this particular case, no, it's not like that. But it is louder. Now, in terms of like better stereo, I have not noticed like a better discretion between the channels. It still feels like it's just coming from the same source. Now, it could be maybe on tabletop at a specific angle, you can notice a little bit more. Or maybe if you put it like at a specific angle from your face, perhaps. I haven't noticed it.
I'm in the same camp. I have not really spent too much time looking at it. I just played Dread, went through the entire thing. So I guess going through Dread as well as testing out other games, I've had the opportunity to kind of like really give it a go. But honestly, it's not something that I'm saying, wow, this is such an improvement. It's louder, yes. But in terms of like clarity, in terms of bass, treble, it feels the same. It's just louder overall.
Yeah, I don't think the speakers are like good enough to even give off bass, you know? But I mean, you know, it makes sounds. It's here. Woo! You know? It's definitely louder. And one more thing, actually, that I did want to talk about really quickly, when you said the audio, I made me think of the buttons at the top. And I'm sure you noticed the volume buttons feel a lot nicer to press, as well as the power button. Now it's no longer a circle; it's an oval, and I kind of like that. It has a little bit more like what is it? It has a little bit more surface area, so it's a little tiny bit easier to press. Not a crazy big amount, but it's those little tiny things that make you question how or why the original Switch didn't launch with this design. You know?
Right. It definitely makes you wonder like why some of the decisions were made when they were looking and designing the original Switch overall. But obviously, with a lot of Q&A, a lot of R&D, a lot of insight and surveys with the customer base, they probably finally came to this design overall. The other thing, dude, the dock. The dock looks amazing. I personally like the design. I think it looks really cool. The biggest thing though is the LAN port. We're actually able to play LAN, which obviously I think you could have done that anyways with like a LAN adapter on
Yeah,
the
you
OG
needed
Switch.
a
I haven't tried it.
USB dongle. Yeah.
Yeah, like a little USB dongle. I haven't tried it, never gave it a go, but it being built in, it's a nice plus. I think it's nice. Will that affect your gameplay online to the point where, you know, it'll give you an edge? I don't know. A lot of those things are server side when it comes to the majority of online games, but I do think it's nice. But another thing is that this could potentially have HDMI 2.0. I don't know if it's 100% verified yet, but I've seen breakdowns of its internals, seeing what's possible. HDMI 2.0, as far as I know, that leads towards 4K. Am I right in saying that, Onyx?
Well, you definitely need 2.0. 2.0, you can't have 4K without 2.0. So definitely. In terms of the LAN adapter as well being like part of the dock, I haven't tested it at all yet. But I know that with the original Switch dock, if you did have a LAN connection, and in Smash, if you were playing with another LAN user, it did give you a much more stable connection. Like for tournaments and stuff that people would host online, they pretty much had a requirement. You need to have LAN, right? It would play a lot better. To the point where it was noticeable. So hopefully that this means that as more people get the OLED, maybe we'll just have better connections overall. We'll see. And in terms of the 2.0, dude, if that is the case, that leads me to believe of all the friggin' rumors that we had last year and that discussion of how come the rumors got everything right about this thing, everything from the kickstand to the LAN on the dock to the OLED screen, but not the 4K capability, right? How come, Rudy? Why did all the rumors get that wrong? Oh, I don't know. Because a 4K Switch is coming. Anyway, but yeah, if honestly the dock has the capability of running a 4K machine at some point, I mean, to me, it's a sign that they're thinking ahead. They're future-proofing. You know, if you bought a Switch OLED, maybe they'll have a friggin' a Switch Pro or whatever they want to call it that doesn't come with a dock, and it's like if you guys bought it, you can buy it here, or one with a dock that's a little bit more expensive. I don't know what their plans are. Right, this is literally conjuncture here, but still, I think it's future-proofing. Why else would they have that, dude? Why else?
No, I 100% agree. Like, when I talked about whether or not the Switch Pro was going to come out this year, one of the biggest things that I looked at was NVIDIA and how they were handling their 3000 series GPUs. I saw that they were struggling keeping up with demand. There's a chip shortage that's going on. It wouldn't make sense for them to go ahead and say, you know what, now's a good time to launch a new Pro console with chips that are newer and in the middle of a pandemic. No. They're going to sell 100,000 units in like half a year based on how bad it's been. Hell no. Exactly. So I just, for me, it makes sense that they're going to go ahead and hold off as long as possible. And I think investors wanted to see something. And this is that something. In regards to pricing, man, $350. How do you feel about it? Is this something that you agree, disagree? Is it worth it to spend this much money? And what cases would actually make it worth it or not at all? What cases? Yeah. Like, let's say, for example, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know what? Oh, you mean like what situation? Yeah. So if I have a Switch, or if I don't have a Switch and I'm about to go ahead and buy it, would I go ahead? Should I choose an OLED or a V2? Dude, when you said cases, I literally thought you meant like cases for the Switch. I'm like I don't know, dude. I don't even have it. Gotcha. Okay, so first, the price. I actually think it's a decent price, right? The Switch is $300. This is $50 more, right? So when you look at it from just that price point of like, hey, 300, 350, okay, it makes sense. Preferably, what Nintendo should have done, because the technology in this bad boy ain't that high tech anymore, right? It wasn't in 2017, but it was still fancy to have this tech in a handheld device. Because this, real quick, PSA people, this is a handheld device first. This is not a console like a PS4 or an Xbox One. Nevertheless, a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. No, it's a handheld. Remember that. Because people have this weird conception of like, oh no, the Switch should run things better. Like, bro, it's a handheld. Of course things are going to look amazing. So I want people to remember that. Remember that. But based on that, $300 in 2017 made sense.
what Nintendo should have done is priced the old Switch at $250, right? Do a quick price cut, and have this one at $300, right? And then the Switch Lite, I believe that one is $199 just generally, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, you would have had a perfect 1, 2, 3 combo of $199, $249, $299. Instead, we have $199, then a $100 gap just to have the ability to, well, just to have Joy-Cons and the ability to connect to the dock, and then an extra $150 gap to have an OLED screen and all the other improvements we mentioned here. So personally, when you asked about the situations, if you are a Switch owner who only or mainly plays on handheld, it's a relatively easy, right? It's a almost maybe yes, get it. It's can you afford $350? Can you trade in your other Switch, get some money in, and then go for the OLED? If you are a primarily docked player, though, that's a much harder sell. And personally, if it wasn't for this channel, if it wasn't for this particular video that we're doing on this thing right now, probably wouldn't even be owning one of these. I play docked 90% of the time. So the upgrades are incredible. Right, the OLED screen in particular is incredible, but I don't think it's worth an upgrade from someone who plays docked most of the time.
I definitely agree with a lot of what you said. When I don't know if you remember this or not, but Nintendo, at least in Europe, they went ahead and they decreased the price of the regular Switch from 329 euros to 299 euros. So
makes sense.
So they lowered the price there, and this was ahead of the OLED release.
Makes
if
sense.
they'd done this a similar maneuver in the United States, it would make sense. It's like you said, you have your 199, 249, and then everything else with like the OLED, and keeping that same technology there, because that I again agree with you. This is technology that has been around for years, longer than the Switch.
Right.
The chip is older than the Switch itself.
Yeah, that was on that NVIDIA. What was it called? I forget the name. The device that would connect.
Oh, the NVIDIA Shield.
Yes, that's what it was. Thank you. The Shield. Yeah.
And when you look at that, you realize that as time progresses, these chips become cheaper because they're cheaper to manufacture. The manufacturing process becomes much more effective. So in saying that, plastic is plastic. Joy-Cons haven't changed much. Getting a LAN versus an extra USB in there,
it's only $20.
Not a big difference.
Yeah.
Not a big difference. Not a big difference when you're talking about a grand scale manufacturing process. The OLED is the biggest upgrade that's there. Is it worth $50? Possibly. Again, this is looking at whether or not this is worth it to you. Whether or not it's worth it to you, because I have an OG Switch. I play docked probably, like as Onyx said, 90% of the time, because I sit here in front of the computer and I stream, I record from here. Very rarely do I go ahead and play handheld. This console, though, has went ahead and made me appreciate the handheld experience much more. I want to experience it more. I've taken it out of its dock more often than I did with my previous Switch, because it honestly is a joy to look at. It is a really good improvement. If you're in the store and you don't have a Switch and you're trying to decide between the two, I would say go OLED. 100%.
Absolutely.
I think it's worth it. If you're trying to choose between a $300 console and a $350 console, pay the extra $50, get the premium experience, and go with that. That being said, like I said, if you have the OG Switch, this is a luxury buy. You do not need it. You do not need it at all. It's a nice to have, not a must have, at least in my opinion. Overall.
Absolutely. And like, even in your case, dude, if you play dock 90% of the time and you have an OLED TV, like, you could just get the same experience at a much bigger size. You know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of variables to think about, right? Like this looks better than my screen on my TV, right?
Right.
Just because of how clean it is. So I do agree that it does make me want to play in handheld more, but how long is this going to last? The appeal, I mean, again, it's been less than a week since this console came out. I've had even less than that time because I got it on Saturday instead of Friday when it came out. So I've had less time to even have it. So it still feels really fresh. Like I have that little giddy new piece of tech feel that you get when you get a new piece of technology. But how long is that going to last? When the games aren't coming out and then every once in a while one comes out and you want to play it, like, is the appeal of the handheld really still going to be there, right? I guess we'll have to see, because I do really like sitting on my couch with that Pro Controller and enjoying my games on my 60+ inch TV. And I'm sure you do as well, you know? So I guess only time will tell, but first impressions are very, very, very strong. Like I said, like you said, I do agree. It does make me want to play it on a handheld more. And that's something that hasn't happened with the Switch since I literally, that first year was like incredible. I wanted to play that shit everywhere. I used to take it to school, dude. I went to college with my Switch, and I remember a professor was like, "Yo, why is there a horse sound in here?" I was playing Breath of the Wild, like on our breaks and stuff. Like, that's how impressive the Switch was, and it still is an amazing device. But yeah, no, we'll see in a year if we're still playing it as much handheld as we are right now.
I agree. I think that in a year's time, what I want to happen is the version 2 Switch that's out there that's $299. I want that to disappear, to just be gone. I want the OLED to be like the main thing.
The base Switch.
The base Switch. There's honestly, there's absolutely no need for anybody to own
the old one.
V2 Switch. Like, there's no need to it.
Huh.
We should just progress and move on to the OLED. And I think that price cut in the United States is probably going to come the moment that the Switch Pro, or whatever they want to call it, the new Switch, Super Switch, whatever.
Oh, it has to happen. It has to happen. Unless Nintendo's fucking wild and they're like, no, we're going to keep 4 SKUs. This is $399. Exactly. If Nintendo's buck wild and they're like, nah, $400 is going to be this new Switch Pro. This is still $350. Save your money if you don't care about the Pro. $300 for the basic Switch and $200 for the Switch Lite. If Nintendo's that nuts, that crazy, that Switch Pro better be like pushing almost PS5 level games. And I know it's not going to happen. Not as a handheld, so.
Not at all. So, I mean, so far I'm in love with it. I like it, but there's critically speaking of it, there's definitely some issues that are there. There's definitely things that people should be aware of when it comes to it, and I hope that some of the stuff that we brought up at least would help people come up with an educated decision on whether or not to get this or not. So, I don't know. But aside from that, anything else you want to add?
Nope. I think it's a cool machine. I like the white. I like the monochromatic thing. It's kind of funny and ironic. I think Arlo said this, that they released a monochromatic color when the whole appeal of it is like more vibrancy on the screen, you know? So it's like, okay, Nintendo, I don't understand your decisions, but okay, cool. I do like the white, though. The white dock next to my white PS5 looks pretty clean. I like it.
It looks very, very nice. Because I have like the Series S, I have the PS5, and then this, so it's just all
the white consoles. All the white.
It's the year of Panda, man. It's the year of Panda, so it's nice. Yeah. It's nice. So obviously, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let us know if you have any questions about anything in the comments below. We're here to answer any questions that you might have. And like the video, thumbs up. Subscribe all the YouTube stuff, and watch some of our other stuff, because we don't just stream and react. We actually have other content as well.
Also, buy Metroid Dread.
Oh my God.
We need more Metroid. Buy Metroid Dread. Play it on your OLED. Buy an OLED. Buy Metroid Dread. I bought 2 copies. I somehow ended up with 2 copies, guys. I'm a madman. But anyway, buy it, play it, enjoy it.
I did it with Monster Hunter Rise. You're good, man.
That's right.
We'll see you on the next time, guys. Until next time.
Later, y'all.
Peace.
Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more and stay up to date, subscribe, hit the little bell, and join our Discord.
If you want to support the channel, please check out our Patreon or hit the join button below. As always, thanks for your support and thanks for watching.